Hi everyone, my name is Ben Cowles and I'm a journalist from the Morning Star newspaper in London. I also run a blog called thecivilfleet.com and I'm a co-host of a slightly dormant podcast called Podaganda. Anyway, I have a video interview here that I think you should check out. Last month I spoke with two German activists, Darius and HENDRIK. They were crew members on a ship called the Iuventa. It was a civil refugee rescue ship. I've written a lot and I've covered a lot of the situation in the Mediterranean and the charities and the people who rescue them. And I'd never spoken to anyone at the Iuventa before. The Iuventa was a ship that was operated by a German organization called Jugendrettet, something like that. My German's pretty shit. And the ship was active between 2016 and 2017. It did 60 missions and saved around 14,000 lives or more than. Anyway, while the ship was active, it was being spied on. The activists had no idea, but it was being spied on by the Italian secret services. The ship, the secret services, they bugged the bridge of the ship, and they also tapped into some of the activists' phone calls. And then in August 2017, while the ship was in Lampedusa, which is a small island in the Mediterranean that belongs to Italy, and the ship was confiscated, and it's been confiscated since then. Some of the activists, 10 members of the crew that were on the Iuventa, they were charged with human smuggling, and they have this case over their head for the last few years or so, since 2017 to be precise. But there's no court date set. Anyway, I interviewed Darius and HENDRIK, two really very interesting guys, about a month ago this was, and check it out. Cheers. Thanks for coming to speak to me, Darius and HENDRIK. Can we start off? Could you just tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you are now, what you're doing, and then we'll get into talk to more about the Iuventa and Jugendrettet and stuff like that.
I think I can start because HENDRIK needs some time until he wake up. So yeah, we are Dariush and HENDRIK. We are both part of the Iuventa 10. That means we are under investigation in Italy because we were part of a crew of the Iuventa. And yeah, at the end we are sea rescuers, civil sea rescuers.
Was both on several ships.
Recording is on.
I just turned the recorder on, basically.
Oh. Yeah, we were both on several ships. Me, for example, was 3 times on the Iuventa, 1 time on the Sea-Watch 3, and now, just exactly now, I'm the 2nd time on the Mare Liberum. And yeah, and I'm always part of the bridge crew, sometimes as a captain, sometimes as a kind of 1st or 2nd officer. Now I'm the captain of the Mare Liberum, and yeah, I'm hanging here around, anchoring 100 meters away from Lesbos, one of the most interesting places to be in Europe.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a pretty crazy place at the moment, I think, in Lesbos. HENDRIK, could you also tell us a little bit about yourself and just before we get going?
Yeah, I'm HENDRIK. I've also been on several rescue missions in the Central Med. I've been on the Iuventa, I've been on the Minden, and I've been on the Sea-Watch 3 also. And my role was usually to drive the fast rescue boats.
You in the do you call them rib boats?
Rib.
And they go out and pick up people that are on the boats and bring them back in.
Yeah, and distribute life vests and all that stuff.
He does what I want.
Wait, is that because the captain's in charge?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, no, but only on the ships. On land, he never listened to me.
I know you seem like a left-wing bunch of people, so I don't know, how does the hierarchy work on the ships?
Yeah, okay, then. Okay, we only talked about our sea rescue skills or things. So I'm Dariush from Hamburg, from Germany, from North Germany. I'm a 40-year-old punk rocker, and I'm used to be left-wing activist since my sisters forced me to be. And yeah, I think we are normally part of the interesting left-wing scene in Germany, and that's why we are interested in doing such sensible things.
Great. So,
hey, HENDRIK is older than me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
Did you just wake up then, HENDRIK? Would you have busy Easter weekend? Was it?
Yeah. I mean, we're not supposed to meet people at the moment, so So we have to stay at
We wear
home
no
and
trousers.
drink alone.
Yeah, so yeah, we're all obviously living under the coronavirus lockdown. I think it's different for Darius, but I guess for Hendrik and I, it's basically just staying at home for days on end. It's kind of getting people. I think I'm starting to go a little bit stir crazy from being locked inside all the time.
Yeah.
So can we start off by talking about the Jugendrettet? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I did German in secondary school, but I've forgotten it all. Does that mean young something?
Yeah, it actually means like young people saving lives. That's what the name is about. And it was an organization. It still exists. It's a bunch of young people that bought the Iuventa and send it out for rescue missions, basically. Yeah.
When was it set up?
2016. So the first mission was in, I think, August 2016, if I remember correctly.
27th of July, my birthday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice. 27th of July. And did you have to, was it when Jugendrettet set up, was it mainly to start with about raising money to buy the Iuventa?
So we were not part of Jugendrettet, actually, so we cannot tell you much about the history of Jugendrettet because we've been part of the crew, and the crewing department in Malta also was not part of the association. The association bought the ship and did all the paperwork in Berlin and raised the money, but the ship was run by people on Malta that were not part of the association.
Oh, I see. Okay. And then, so can you tell us about how the Iuventa, the early missions before you started getting investigated? I think at that time you saved about like 14,000 lives, right? Could you talk a little bit about those early missions and what happened and what was it like on the ship, this kind of thing?
It's always really difficult because there is no normality on a ship like that. It's always, at the end, every mission was different. Every day on each mission is nearly different. Of course, there's some kind of routine, a little bit, but at the end, you never know. You're always in a big car accident on the highway. It's always the same, but it's not the same. So there is no real routine. Of course, it starts always, you go to Malta. That was the headquarter place of all NGO ships at the end at that time. You went there, and then you have 2 or 3 times of the days of training where you can learn the ship. We was on missions with people who had never entered a ship before, because of course a doctor can be a doctor everywhere where he is. He doesn't have to know a ship, for example. And so we had often people who was the first time on a ship and they have to get used to go the stairs backwards, or I don't know how to make a knot on a rope. And so you have 3 days of training, and then you start sailing. On the way to Libyan waters, you also train a lot again, because the Iuventa was not so quick. It needs 1 day, 24 hours to go to this in front of the north of Libya. Yeah, and then from then on, you never know what happens on a mission. And I think it's still like that. Even the ships now, it's not so much anymore, but you never know what happens exactly. Do you meet a good ship, a ship in a good condition? Is it completely full? It has an engine? Are they injured on it? Is the Libyan Coast Guard come and shoot at you? You never know what happens. It's hard to say a routine.
Yeah, the point is, like, we are always talking about good condition, but that's our point of view, of course, because like good condition means still the boat can sink within seconds should anything happen. So it's not like there's a boat in good condition and you can easily take your time and not hurry. That's not the case usually. Usually, even boats in good conditions, should anything happen to the boat, it can sink really fast.
Yeah, it's really euphemistic, of course. Good conditions, and most of the Europeans won't not enter a boat like that with that amount of people in any time. It's good conditions is for our, because that means there's no unconditioned people on, no hardly injured, and it's not capsizing. That is for us good conditions.
That would be good as long as it doesn't capsize, I guess. So those first early missions, were there any rescues that stick out in your mind in particular, or I just want to know what, like, a sense of what it was like being on the ship. I'm always talking to people who do this, but I've never been on the ship myself, so try to build a picture of it in my head.
So I think Hendrik can remember his first mission very well.
Yeah, like that was actually not on the Iuventa, because like, to give you an idea, we are both activists that joined different ships. We're not part of any association. Like because of our skill set or like the things we learned, we joined different ships on different missions. And one of them was the Iuventa. For me, the Iuventa was 2017. I've been on the Minden before in 2016. And actually my first mission on the Minden was in the beginning of October, like around the 3rd of October in 2016. And it was a period of not so good weather before. So for 10 days we were there, and no boats with migrants were leaving Libya, apparently because of the bad weather. And then there was a period of 3 days in a row with really good weather. And the first day of that period was actually the 3rd of October. And like we had to start at night, like around 4 a.m. We had the first rescue, like the first boat we found. And then it continued throughout the day with like loads and loads of boats. I think around, I don't remember right, but between 30 and 40 boats were coming to the search and rescue area where we were patrolling. And we were there together with a lot of other NGO ships, a lot of Coast Guard ships from the Italian Coast Guard, a lot of military ships doing rescues all day. I think we finished at 2 a.m. the next night. So we've been on the water for 22 hours, more or less. I didn't leave the rescue boat. I just picked up some food in between, but actually, like, I had to work for 22 hours on the boat, going from migrant boat to distribute life vests, to bring them water, because they were on the water the whole day with the sun burning from the sky, and they had no cover. So we had to bring them these rescue blankets and to cover their heads, and that was really a hard day. Yeah, that was the first. Yeah, my first real day in the Central Med, actually, with rescues.
That sounds really difficult. Must have been like a very hard day.
Yeah, actually, and it continued like this because, like, when so many boats arrived, most of the ships were actually full and left for Italy. And then we stayed in the search and rescue zone because we were a small boat that was not able to transport people for a long way, like the Iuventa also. And we were kind of a first responder. We were like trying to stabilize the situation until other bigger ships arrive that can actually bring the people to a place of safety. And so the next day, most of the big ships had left for Italy, but still like 20 boats or something were coming to the search and rescue zone, and we were there with only a few boats and still had to work the whole day, take care of the people, and try to find bigger ships, like try to pressure the rescue coordination center in Rome to send bigger ships to pick up the people, because we were not able to take them on our small ship. Like the Minden was, I think, 23 meters long. It's really a really small boat. So the maximum we had on the ship was 150 people, I think. Mm-hmm. And with that, you were barely able to move on the ship, actually.
How many people could the Iuventa hold? Is that what you mentioned there?
Yeah, that is always in the Central Med. You always plan to take only that kind of people, that many people on board, and it always messed up. For example, the very first mission, I was not joining, but the very first mission, they said, okay, 150 people, that is a good amount of people that we can sail really safe along. And on the first day, they had, I think, 400 people on the ship.
Wow.
And also, yeah, normally we said in normal conditions, 150 people is a good amount of people, because then they can still move a little bit and you can sail safely. But I also, on my missions, we had sometimes up to nearly 500 people on board. That's where all the people sitting like on the refugee boat again, because nobody was able to move, nobody was able to go to the toilet, and we were not able to distribute water or things like that. But of course, it's better than drowning to be on the ship. And of course, they are more safe on our ship than on the others. But yeah, normally we said 150 to 200 people is a good amount of people on the Iuventa. But of course, in emergencies, we took more.
When you were when the Iuventa was operating, I wasn't actually covering the story much. That I've been covering the civil fleet and the NGO rescues of refugees in the Mediterranean for about a year now. So your ship kind of what was happening then was kind of before I started getting really interested and covering the subject. So I feel like I don't know enough, and that's why I'm really glad and a little bit nervous to speak to you both about it. So at that time, were the ports open? Like, you know, I know recently Italy and Malta has just once again closed their ports. Was that happening to you guys on the Iuventa, where you like blocked from disembarking people?
At the end, it was like that. In the beginning, it was really like that. The Italian Coast Guard really was thankful that the NGOs are there. They say, thank you that you help us. We can't manage it alone. And they really welcomed all the NGOs. They went on the ship. They visited the Iuventa and said, oh, what's on this small ship? You did such a great job. And wow, and really good that you are here. And also, I think in July 17, Iuventa started. And till May 18, so nearly 10 months, everything went normal, as you can call it normal in there. But so we worked pretty good together with the MRCC mostly. Also the MRCC Rome, this Maritime Rescue Coordination Center, that is the organization who organizes sea rescue all over the world everywhere. And for every sea area, there was one responsible MRCC, and for the completely sea between Maltese waters and Libyan waters, it's the MRCC Rome. They're responsible for that area, and they organize and authorize every rescue which happened there. And it was always like we worked really good together with them. So if we found a boat by accident, we saw them with the binoculars. First thing was to prepare the crew and get as fast as possible to this boat, because it's a question of seconds to rescue the people. But the second thing was always to call the MRCC and said, we have a boat here, and then they said us, take them on board or bring them to another vessel which is next to you or something like this. And it's all, and mostly, to be true, mostly we didn't found boats on my missions by accident. Mostly it was like at 4 o'clock in the morning, the telephone rang, the satellite phone rang, and there was an MRCC room on it, and said, we know where you are, because we gave our position often to them. And they said, we have information that there was a boat next to you, go there and rescue them. So at the end, they gave us order to rescue the people mostly. And we thought, okay, that is the way how the strange things on the Central Med works, because of course it's completely a fuck up or strange that there are civil assets to rescue people, and that the government planned that there are civil assets. It's completely strange. Normally it should be people who are hired and trained and do what they want, do what they know what they do. Of course, we knew also what we did, but in my opinion, it should be a state from governments organized sea rescue organization mission all the time, and not civil vessels go there. But yeah, we worked pretty well with them together till May in 2017. That was the first time when we get a little bit the feeling something strange happened, because you also said in the beginning it was everything normal, but we learned later, because we had access to the files, that the investigation started in September 2016. So 3 months after the first mission, or 2 months after the first mission, they already started to investigate against us. So at the end, nearly the whole time of operations of the Iuventa was an investigation ongoing. But Henrik knows a lot about that.
Yeah, but let's get back to the Central Med situation first, because like this closed port situation, that actually I think it started with Salvini taking over, because before that it was normal procedure to request a safe port by from the MRCC Rome, and they usually gave it. It took sometimes a couple of days, like when we were on the Sea-Watch, I think it took them, I don't know, 1 or 2 days to assign a safe port to us where to bring the people. But it was normal procedure that the MRCC was assigning a safe port, usually somewhere in Sicily, and then we were bringing the people there. So that the ports are closed, that was really a new situation.
Lifeline was the first.
Sorry?
Lifeline was the first.
Yeah.
The mission Lifeline, that was the first who was not allowed to enter harbor for, I think, nearly 3 weeks, 2.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
In July 18 or June 18.
This is when I started covering the stories more, but like especially when Salvini was in charge. And I think I remember the Sea-Watch 3 last June, I think it was, or July. It was last summer, and they had to sort of not force, but they had to push through, get their way in, didn't they, to the port. I mean, it's a crazy situation, and now that seems to be the new normal. And it seems to me that now that coronavirus is happening, that's the new excuse to block people like you guys from saving people.
Yeah, I mean, like before the coronavirus, it actually got a bit better. It still took a couple of days to assign safe ports to ships, but at least the Italians were assigning them safe ports again, so they didn't have to do like standoffs for 2 weeks or something like that. But now with the COVID-19, I think it changed completely.
And especially the last 2 days, when you look what Maltese forces did in the last 2 days. I don't know if you, Ben, heard about it, what happened in the Maltese waters in the last 2 days. For me, that is a kind of murder, what they did, because they go there, sabotage the engine of a boat, say, we don't care about you, you will die here, and they left again. And that is, for me, a new escalation step, completely.
Yeah, terrible. I think this weekend, as of now, there's at least 2 boats in the Maltese waters that, as far as I know, the Maltese armed forces or navy haven't come to get them. Also, according to Alarm Phone, they were sharing the positions of these boats. I think one's capsized as well.
Yeah, there were 4 boats, 2 in Maltese waters, 2 I think was still in international waters, and Frontex had an eye on it. There was flying assets, helicopters or things like this. I don't know from Maltese or from Frontex, but they were in view of European forces. And now 1 capsized and 3 are still drifting.
It's terrible. Can we move back to the Iuventa, and can you talk a little bit about how the ship became under investigation?
So actually, there was at that time there were a lot of different NGO assets in the search and rescue area, and they were operating in really different ways. Like the Iuventa, we said was a first responder. We usually didn't bring people to Italy. We distributed life vests and tried to make it as safe as possible until further help arrives that can actually take the people to a place of safety. And one of these other assets was the Vos Hestia from it was chartered. Yeah, it was chartered by Save the Children, and by chartering we also mean they didn't buy the ship. Like the Iuventa was owned by the association Jugendrettet. The Vos Hestia was still owned by the company, the shipping company, and they also put all the nautical staff on the ship, like the captain and everybody, the engineers, and also 2 security persons that were put on the ship by the shipping company. So Save the Children only had the head of mission and the medical team, I think, on the ship, and the rest was crewed by the shipping company. And these 2 persons from a security service, they on their first mission, being the first time in the Central Med, witnessing what's happening there, all these strange situations that are happening there on a daily basis, they somehow made up something in their mind that they saw something and thought the Iuventa is collaborating with smugglers. That was their impression. Being out there the first time, seeing something they couldn't quite understand why people were acting like that, and they thought, okay, they must be collaborating with smugglers. And then when they came back, they sent an email to the Italian Secret Service, not the police, but directly to the Secret Service, and to 2 politicians, like the 5-Star Movement, and to the office of Matteo Salvini himself. And this email led to investigations against, the authorities opened a case file against the Iuventa and were starting to investigate. Of course, also Matteo Salvini was really interested, and actually one of these security contractors, I don't remember his name. Pietro Gallo was his name. And I think there's a long article in the German newspaper Die Zeit, and I think it also exists in English. There's an English.
Yeah, Salvini spy on the Central Med.
Yeah, that explains.
Could you send that to me when this is over, if you can?
Sorry?
Could you send me the link to that article?
Yeah, I can Google it soon. And this guy was actually spying on the Vos Hestia also for months, giving information internal information to the office of the Lega. Apparently, nothing that was that showed the NGOs in a bad light, because I think they never used it publicly. What he was collecting there, what information. But the investigations started in October, I think. September 2016. And there was this one mission that was there. That there were these witness reports of these 2 security contractors from the Vosestia, and then the Italian authorities put undercover investigator on the Vosestia. So one of the security contractors was actually taken away from the ship, and he was replaced by an undercover policeman that was there to observe what the Iuventa was doing. And he also wrote some reports and actually misinterpreted some images willingly or unwillingly, we don't know, that led to accusations against us, and then also to the confiscation of the ship and investigations against 10 crew members. And also
one is me.
One of them is me also. And the Italian authorities actually also placed a listening device on the bridge. So they forced the Iuventa to come to Lampedusa, to actually transfer 5 people to Lampedusa. I think Dariush can tell you something about that in a minute, because he was on the mission where that happened. So in the end, we had ongoing investigations by 5 different authorities in Italy. I think 2 of them were 2 different types of secret service. The police forces that are usually investigating in huge mafia trials, so organized crime, and the effort they were taking to find some evidence against us was the same as in huge trials for organized crimes, and that is really, really ridiculous. How big they made these investigations, because in the end, I think should they have found any collaboration, some of us would be in jail right now, and none of us is. So the ship is still confiscated. The investigations are ongoing, but in the end, nothing came out. And all the evidence they showed for the confiscation of the ship was completely, we completely can show how it really was. We worked together with the forensic architecture. I don't know if you saw the film. They made a 30-minute analysis of all the accusations against us, and they countered all of them and said it's completely bullshit. It's all made up.
All we know.
All we know, yeah.
All the accusations because of the seizing of the ship. We don't know what they have behind because the investigations against the people, but everything they put on the table, what leads to the confiscation of the ship, was proved wrong.
Yeah, but maybe you can tell something about that May mission, Dariush.
Yeah, for sure, because we also want to mention this mission, because for me it's really a sign for how far they go to repress NGOs or how they are thinking, because it was, as we told before, the Iuventa was not for bringing people, transferring them to Italy. It's a rather small ship, and when you compare it with the other NGO ships, and we always had clear the commitment with the MRCC that we can take people on board when it's not too much, even for maybe 1 day or 2 days, but then somebody else has to pick them up and bring them to Italy. We were not able to drive such a far way. We would need 1.5 days from Sarzone to Lampedusa. We need 1.5 days, and it's not possible to bring there a lot of people because it's no shelter of wind, no shelter of waves, and even only 1 toilet for the guests, and many points what leads to that we thought was they always said it's not possible to transfer people, and the MRCC always respected that, and of course they didn't force us to do something which brings the people in danger. And then in May was it that we had at the end more, we had 120 or 150 people on board, and they gave us a rendezvous point or a position where the Aquarius was, or the Dignity, I don't know, another NGO ship were there. And they said, the MRCC said, go there and transfer the people to that ship, and they will bring them to Italy. And we thought, okay, everything is normal, we do it. And while we transferred the people, the MRCC called us and said, so the last 25 people you have to bring by your own to Lampedusa. And we were really confused. We was shocked, confused, and we didn't know why. And we wrote them an email and said, no, we never can do that. We always said that it's not possible that we can transfer people such a long distance. And we had some email hin und her, blah, blah. So they sent us, we sent us, and it was a discussion. At the end, the MRCC was a little bit angry. They only write capital letters, and you bring the people here. And we denied it completely. We said, no, it's not possible. And at the end, they give a kind in because they say, okay, you are allowed to transfer 20 more people to another ship, but the last 5 people you have to bring. And that was a point where we thought, okay, 5 people, when we say we cannot transfer 5 people, then it will be happen maybe that they say, okay, don't leave in the harbor anyways, because when you cannot transfer 5 people, you are not a safe ship for anybody, maybe. And we didn't understand this situation. We really was confused. But we worked, as I said, really good together with the MRCC, and the MRCC is the organization who has responsible to save people at the sea, not only refugees, every seafarer they are responsible for. And we never had the idea that they would do something what bring people in danger. And that's we started to sailing in the north then with this 5 people. After half an hour or something like this, 2 other NGO ships called us because they were more in the south, and they said, hey, we have here 8 boats around us, you have to come to help us. And we were really, okay, but the MRCC said we should go to the north, to Lampedusa, and then they started to discuss with the MRCC, we started again to discuss, but at the end it was still like that. The MRCC said the most important thing for the Iuventa is to bring this 5 people to Lampedusa. And with a really bad feeling, we started to sailing north. As I said, we need 1.5 days to the Lampedusa. We were there for, I don't know, 5 hours, 8 hours, something like this. Some people of the crew were interviewed by the police. And then we sailed back. So we were a little bit more than 3 days away from the search and rescue area. In these 3 days, there were 21 boats in distress, and 4 of them disappeared. So that means about 1,000 people for sure drowned. So about 1,000 people drowned on that weekend or on these days. And we could not understand why the MRCC forced us to that. But then later, when the ship was confiscated, we learned from the files that they used the time that we was in the harbor to install the BUG, the listening device on the bridge. And that is, for me, the subtitle is the MRCC doesn't care that 1,000 people died, because it's more important that they can investigate against 10 left-wing people in Germany or in Europe, because we are Europeans and the others were not. And so 1,000 people doesn't count.
It's crazy. It's like their own people, aren't they? It doesn't matter to them, but these 10 people on the ship, these 10 lefties, they can be criminalized. It's insane. What was it? I mean, how did you feel about being bugged? And and weren't your phones tapped as well?
Not of all. At the end, they seized 1 or 2 cell phones. I'm not sure this. I think 1 cell phone and 2 computers. And they also listened to some calls, but only between Italian people, because it's not so easy for them to listen to people from other countries. I think that I'm not a lawyer, but I thought. Henrik.
We had a cooperation partner in Italy for the time that did the crewing for the doctors. And these people were obviously based in Italy, so it was more easy for the Italian authorities to listen to the phone calls they made. But they also listened to the phone calls that like the crewing team in Malta did with the people in Italy, because they were calling Italian phones. And parts of these phone calls are also in the files. So they apparently at least listened to the cooperation partners we had in Italy, to their phones. Yeah.
And of course, it's feeling bad when I then think, okay, I was listening all the private talks you have on the bridge, and you're complaining about the other crew members because Henrik always smells or whatever. So of course, it's often like that in left-wing structures, or maybe in others also, but in left-wing structures, when they listen all the private things, it can lead to some struggles between the group, of course, because you are in a stressful situation. You have not slept for 24 hours or 30 hours, and you are complaining about somebody leaving his dirty cup there, and this asshole always leaving his cup here. And in a normal situation, you never would think like that to him, and it's not so important. But when he sees this record now, maybe they publish it. The Italians, you never know what they do, this government, because there was often things published in newspapers before we heard that the things are in the files, for example. And then they publish, hey, look here, this captain, he talks bad about his whole crew all the time. and that will be maybe I'm really lonely in the prison then. But of course, a part of this private thing, it's a big mess that they dare to do it.
Do you think that they, that the investigators had a genuine suspicion that you guys were working with smugglers, or were they just out to try and stop the civil rescues?
Well, I think for us, it's of course a political trial. I mean, the investigations were politically motivated. They were started in a situation where the narrative, was tried, because in throughout 2016, the work of the NGOs was seen quite positive in the public opinion, and also the media was reporting quite positive about it. And then in the end of 2016, that image started to change, and the narrative was changed. And maybe they cooperate with smugglers, and that was actually, I mean, that were ideas that were coming out of the right-wing identitarian bubble, but also, like, for example, Fabrice Leggeri, the boss of Frontex, he was in interviews like asking questions. We don't know how the NGOs are financed, and we don't know what they are doing there because we cannot see them. That was like they didn't have any proof of anything. They just wanted to, spread rumors to like get the positive image of the NGOs, like make it a bit more worse. So, and also, a lot of politicians, like high-level politicians, for example, Sebastian Kurz, he was foreign minister at that point. In Austria, he was complaining about the work of the NGOs. The German interior minister was complaining about the work of the NGOs, and like everything based on suspicion and rumors, but no proof at all. And I think these investigations were part of that bigger campaign to like try to find something against the NGOs.
They got what they want, because 2016-17 there was, in these 2 years, there were sometimes there were 12 civil assets in the search and rescue area, maybe not at the same time, but at the end working. And now there was 3, I think. And it's really hard for them to get crew members. They changed laws that it's not much more easy to get crew members, that other safety measures are taking place, and the different countries changed laws that we are not more able to sail out. It's of course also for the people, when you don't know if you got under investigation, or even if you get under a standoff for 2 or 3 weeks instead of being on mission for 2 weeks. It's something different. When you plan how long are your holidays, you can go on for a mission for 3 weeks, or you stay on the ship for 5 or 6 weeks, and at the end you have an investigation ongoing. It's harder to get crew members, and at the end it happens what they want. It's nearly no civil rescue asset is down there, and every day are people dying, and that is what they want.
It's like, they've created a stink, or like the smear campaign around the civil fleet. So now it's stopped them, like you said, and now they've kind of got what they want, because there's just the Alan Kurdi, I think, at the moment, that's in the sea. Oh no, it's another one, Mayday Toriano. That shit.
Yeah, it's the Altamari just left port, but they are heading for Bilbao, I think, for.
You're not so awake along, Hendrik?
Yard work, yeah.
You didn't hear the messages?
No.
Altamari was they wanted to do a transfer to Cyprus or something, or to Spain from Cyprus,
and
they made a rescue. They were alerted to a boat. They had no rescue crew on board, no medical crew on board, but they were alerted for a boat, and they changed their course immediately, and they just took the people on board 1 hour ago.
Oh, good.
But that was not their plan, of course.
No, they left yesterday for Bilbao, for the shipyard.
Yeah, and they did a rescue on the way.
Oh, nice.
Before we go back to the Iuventa, so I guess one of the things that they were trying to, one of the conspiracy theories the right has, especially in Europe, is this idea of replacement of that, Black African people, Muslim people are going to come to Europe and replace the natives and change our way of life. And I guess this is what they were trying to pin on you guys, as being like, oh, look, these people, these lefty weirdos, they're bringing in all these these foreigners into the continent. I mean, that's what it seems like the investigations were started, because that's what they're trying to pin on you, this conspiracy theory that's kind of in people's minds at the moment.
Yeah, just shortly, to be not unfair, if there would be no COVID-19, Sea-Watch 3 would be out with 2 ships and 2 airplanes. So Sea-Watch is still working, but the virus destroyed the plans a little bit. But normal, if there would be not, they would be also down there and try to rescue people.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, but this big replacement theory from these, I mean, that's basically coming from the identitarian bubble. And yeah, also the identitarians had that ship in the Central Med in 2017 where they tried to, I don't know what they actually wanted to do. I mean, it was, in the end, it was completely ridiculous what they did.
They put a sticker on a whip.
They put a sticker on a rip, yeah. That's that's their main achievement, I think. And they were blocking Channel 16 constantly with messages to other ships. Yeah.
Yeah, they're morons. So there's them, and then there's also like a slightly more intelligent, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a slightly more intelligent claim against civil rescues, is that, that the civil rescue fleet are acting as a pull factor. That these boats are encouraging migrants to leave Libya and risk their lives at sea to cross to Europe, which I think is moronic. And I actually think it's been proved by a researcher called Matteo Villa. But I wonder, what do you guys, was this accusation leveled at you guys that you're a pull factor?
I mean, that is, this pull factor theory is not really new. It was already brought up in 2016 by the German Interior Minister against Italy, actually against the Italian Coast Guard that were doing rescues. That were doing through the Mare Nostrum. That was a really good running and very effective search and rescue mission organized by Italy. And the German Interior Minister de Maizière criticized them at that point for being a pull factor, and that they should stop that. And so that's actually not a new theory. It's still not correct. And it has been, like, there have been at least 2 studies that show that it's completely bullshit. I mean, there are different factors that are way, way more important, and they are called push factors. That is why people leave in the first place. And it's not, it's not like because there are ships, people are coming, but it's the other way around. The ships are there because people are coming, and they would drown otherwise. And I think they are trying to change that narrative and turn it around, because, like, we were a reaction to the situation, and the situation didn't start because we were there. It was the other way around. And now they are trying to change that narrative to say the people are leaving because we are there, and that's completely not true.
Yeah, and there are 2 big points in that pull factor bullshit theory. So the one is that it would mean that all the people who fly from Libya, and of course not, nobody starts in Bangladesh or in Gambia or somewhere to leave his village because he heard there's a boat on the Central Med. Completely stupid. Of course not. That is the one point. They only stuck in Libya. That is the point where they all fit together from all over the other parts of where they start to flee. But it's not all, it's only Libyans. And that would make sense maybe. Okay, there are only Libyans want to fly and they see there's a ship, but that is not that. They come from somewhere else. And yeah, what I said, they don't leave their village in Gambia because they heard there was a ship on the Central Med. And the main point for me is, it's more easy to say there was a pull factor than think about your own faults, why people have to fly their places, because they don't leave it because even not because the weather is better in Europe or because there were ships on the Central Med. They flee because European politics and European economies forces them to leave their countries, because it's not anymore possible to live there, because we need cheap clothes, we need cheap fishes, we need cheap benzene, petrol, we need metals out of the earth for handies and cell phones, and all these things. At the end, capitalism forces the people to flee because Europe squeeze out the whole other part of the world, that we have a nice, comfortable live in Europe. And you have to start to think about that, why they leave their places, when you cannot say, there is someone who is guilty. Then the people have to start, maybe my lifestyle is the reason why they leave.
Absolutely, yeah, and especially my country, which just is invaded or bombed or has a colonial history in many of these places that people are leaving from. And then we act as if
But Germans are also not so bad in this.
Yeah, we've both got a pretty shitty record. So your ship, let's go back to the Iuventa. It's now been confiscated. Still in Italy, is it?
Yeah, in Trapani, in Sicily.
In Sicily. And so what is happening now? I mean, can you sort of kind of catch us up from then and to now? What is happening with the ship and with you guys? I think you're all, you have this trial or investigation over your heads. Can you you talked about this a little bit, but could you just bring us up to now?
So yeah, the ship is still confiscated in Sicily, and it will stay confiscated until the end of the trial that still needs to start, because at the moment it's only investigations against 10 former crew members. And the investigation is for facilitating illegal immigration, which carries a sentence of up to 20 years in prison for our case, and like a huge amount of fines. I think it was something like 15,000 euros per person.
Wow.
We had crossed the border, so that can be quite a huge amount. And the investigations are still, in the investigation phase. So there is no charge. There are no charges at the moment. We are still waiting for that, and our lawyers do not dare to say when this might happen. They did an estimation 2 years ago. They did an estimation 1 year ago, and they were all wrong. And now they are saying, I don't. Sometime between summer and Christmas, but not
which year we don't know.
Which year we don't know. Yeah. So it's been pending since. I mean, we heard of it in June 2017. We were notified of the investigations and that we need a lawyer in Italy. But since then, not much happened actually.
And has this affected your ability to travel or anything? Has it affected you in any way, having this investigation going on?
No, we can travel as freely as we want. The only thing the lawyers said is we should not join a rescue mission in the Central Med, because we would be continuing what we are under investigation for, and that might lead to pretrial detention. So there's a higher chance than for others that there's pretrial detention, and so they asked us to not join rescue missions at the moment in the Central Med.
But it looks like you have you. Some of you, I don't know if Darius, if you said that you were on the Sea-Watch 3 afterwards,
but not. But it was between we received the letter. The ship was confiscated in August 17, and Hendrik and me was together on May 18 on the ship on the Sea-Watch 3, and 1 month later we received the letter. So we didn't know it in May 18. Yeah,
okay.
And on the Mare Liberum, where I'm just now, we are not doing search and rescue. It's not a search and rescue mission. It's a monitoring mission, and the Italians are pretty far away.
Yeah, that's right. How, if we can talk about, is there anything else that we should have talked about the Iuventa that we haven't? Because if not, I want to kind of move on to just a few more questions of this sort of broader situation.
I think we didn't mention it's the nicest ship which ever sailed on the Central Med.
With the best crew.
No, it's a really nice ship.
We talked a little bit about the coronavirus situation, but obviously that's becoming a new way for Europe, Fortress Europe, to clamp down on refugees coming over or migrants crossing the sea. How do you think this is affecting? How is this going to affect? Do you think long term the lockdown, migrant rescues?
That's really hard to say.
Yeah, maybe Hendrik can say, but because I'm here completely in the middle of the hurricane, or I don't know, I'm on Lesbos, and here it's really hard for every refugee here on the island. It was before, but it's much harder now, and I'm not able to think about the long-term condition because I'm happy when I know what happens the next day.
Yeah, I think it's really, really hard to say. I mean, what we can see now is that the authorities are using the new competences to shut down every protest, even the smallest one, with all the safety distance and people wearing masks. It's not allowed. They are all shut down, and they are using also the situation to ban people from entering the country, to stop search and rescue completely, even state-run search and rescue, and just let people drown knowingly. I mean, they see the boats, they observe the boats, they have assets there, they have even like some of the migrants on the boats, I think, told alarm phone that Maltese ships were passing by, Maltese military ships were passing by, leaving them there and not taking action. And so I think they are using the situation for an escalation of the shutdown of the Fortress Europe, like how it will continue once the COVID-19 situation is over. I have no idea actually when that will be and how that will be.
Yeah, I guess no one knows like what's going to happen after all this. Like, it's just such a crazy situation.
And Italy and I think Malta and Libya, but Libya I don't count, it's not a country at the end, but Libya and Malta, I think they declared their harbors themselves as unsafe, and that is also, it's at the end it's lawly, there's no law where you can steam on, and at the end it's like, normally you are an unsafe port, it's like I tell someone he's an asshole, and they start to say, hey, we are assholes, because it's nothing you can declare by yourself normally. And it's completely weird that they say, well, we are unsafe port. Normally, that is an accusation from other people to someone, and not, hey, we are unsafe port. That's not an excuse for anything. And it's not, nobody said, oh, I'm an asshole, I'm an asshole. It's completely fucked up.
That's a nice way to put it, actually. Salvini's gone, but it hasn't really changed much, has it? I guess Europe is still just as aggressive. What do you think? I mean, with Salvini, it was really obvious why he was, going after you guys, as he was a massive right winger, and he's quite crazy. But why do you think that Europe is so? It seems to me they're determined to keep the civil fleet, the civil rescuers, away from the Mediterranean. Why do you think that is?
Well, because they don't want witnesses for the consequences of their politics. I mean, since the beginning of the 90s, when the Schengen area was created, they were shutting down the outside borders more and more, and that led to people trying to cross more and more illegally on more and more dangerous routes, and with more people dying. And that actually led to the situation in the Central Med. And like the civil search and rescue assets are witnesses of that. They are documenting it, they are reporting on it, and they constantly get pictures of the consequences of this shutdown of the European outside borders into the press. And the European politics, they just don't want these witnesses, I think, and that's why they want to shut down on. And we are also questioning the system of the shutdown of the borders, of course, because we are actually rescuing people and bringing them to Europe. So that is also,
for me it's the same. As I think really because you are talking to us is because we did our job. Normally, before there was this civil rescue scene, even the normal media didn't talk about the dying. There died people since 20 years on the Central Med on boats, and nobody talked about them. And it was all the time a big mess what happens on this borders. Schengen area has changed a lot, of course, but even, I think the anniversary of the first realized or known boat capsize was this last year in July, 20 years. So since 20 years, people are trying to, minimum since 20 years, people are trying to cross the sea to come to Europe. And we put a finger in the wound and we tell the people what happens there, what Hendrik just mentioned. And also people are talking about it. And I think also a big point is we show how easy it is and how at the end cheap it is to change it. It's not a question of millions or billions of dollars or euros. It's you can found an organization to collect some money. Of course, we need money, but at that it's not so expensive because it's about lives, and we show how easy it is to save lives, if you want.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's what they should be doing. I sometimes feel like, not at the moment, but last summer I sometimes felt that it was almost as if the European Union was subcontracting, civil society organizations to rescue people in a way. It was trying, when it wasn't blocking them, it was kind of like, well, we're not going to do it. They stopped Operation Sophia. We're going to let these do it if they can, if they want to. It just feels it's a deeply cynical and horrible situation, I think.
And for me, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've asked everything I wanted to. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that we should have talked about? I don't know, Darius, if you want to talk a little bit about the Mare Liberum.
Well, when I start about that, we have another 2 hours of me complaining about the world. Of course, it's a big mess. What here happens in these times, but that is really a topic for itself, I think. But it's really a mess. When we don't look at land, okay, because we are talking about sea rescue and what's happening on the seas. And what we know is that there were, again, all the time crossing boats, the Aegean, from Turkey to Lesbos. We know that people who managed to come to the sea, to the islands, to the Greek islands, they're often forced to stay at exactly that point where they entered the land. So the Greek authorities built like wild camps, small wild camps, and they forced the people to live because of the Corona thing. They forced them to live exactly there where they stranded for 40 days. And the lucky ones get a small tent where they have to stick together with 10 or 50 people inside, and not place like this, but it's better because it rained a lot the last days. Doesn't look like that now, but it rained a lot the last days. And then there were 20 people in the small tent. The not so lucky ones get nothing, so they turn around their boat to get some shelter under it, and they get 1 meal per day, what is really, really not so, even 1 meal is not enough, and this meal is also really small. And that is how people are welcomed in Europe in these times. And the newest trend here, what is even also like this Maltese escalation step, is here that we heard about 8 or 9 cases now that people who were already on a Greek island were taken on the ship from the Greek Coast Guard, and they go to the middle of the sea and put them on life rafts and set them out there until the Turkish Coast Guard picks them up. And at the end, I think that also is, you can, of course, you don't kill them directly, but you kill them indirectly, because it's okay, I don't think it's so worse that the Greek Coast Guard calls the Turkish Coast Guard to say, we set some people out here, save them. That would be even, you don't know in these days, but that would be more unbelievable if somebody would leak that. But at the end, I think they put them just in the sea because they don't care if they drown or if they be killed in the Turkish camps or whatever. They don't care, the people. They don't care about human lives here. And there was also lots of reports and even videos about, in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, or 2 months now, that the Greek Coast Guard tried to capsize refugee boats. They shoot in the water next to them. They causes panic on the ships. And at the end, here, especially in the Greek-Turkish borders, not only at the sea, they really show how less they care about humans when they are not Europeans. And that I didn't start to talk about Moria or what happens in the other camps here in Greek, but that is a real topic for its own.
Absolutely, that's a huge topic, and it's a very terrible situation there.
Can I have a call without Henrik about that when I'm drunk?
Is there anything else you guys want to know? Is there anything you wanted to ask me?
Yeah, force the people to go get active in their possibilities. Of course, it's not easy with all lockdowns things, but get active get creative and wrote emails, make signs in your window, and complain about it, and tell the world what happens on the seas and what happens in the camps in Greek, and mostly struggle, start to fight. Abolish capitalism.
That's what we're trying to do. All right, guys. Henrik and Darius, thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and I'll be in touch.